I had a phone call with a buddy this morning, and he goes, I just have to tell you, the book thing is so cool. He goes, I have to be honest though, I'm sitting here like guessing my entire life and saying, Detjen wrote a book. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? And I was like, that's the biggest compliment that anybody could give me.
What's the thing you do better than anyone else?
I would say making awkward connections. So when you think about a party or a corporate event, I'm the guy that can bring the wallflower into the conversation. You've got your outgoing people they're going to mingle, they're going to do their thing, but I can spot the people that aren't part of the conversation, and my art is bringing them in. That's my superpower.
Have you always had that superpower?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that comes from not that I was unpopular, but I know what it's like to be maybe on the fringe of something. And so I've always wanted to pull people in. You know, that if you've ever been left out of something, you know what it feels like. So that's what's fueling me whenever I bring people into the conversation.
I love that. So how are you doing that at Michelin?
You know, it happens in the corporate environment as well. It's exactly like a junior prom dance when we're all mingling together. Especially at our sales meetings, it's the same thing. You have a mix of extroverts, introverts, and it's about making connections with people.
And it's amazing how people segregate themselves like they would at a school cafeteria.
Right.
Like, you have the jocks, the nerds,
Yeah, and you think about the introverts, usually the introverts have the most powerful thing to say, but they don't speak up. Right. So that's part of my motivation is I want to hear you. I want to know what you have to say, because I guarantee you, there's a strong possibility it's more valuable than anybody that's running their mouth over here.
Oh, it's so true, man. It's one of the loudest voices in the room. I can attest to that.
Right.
There's this personality test that I was turned on to a long time ago called 5 Voices. You may have heard of it.
Okay.
Basically, there's 5 different types of voices, the way people communicate, both in the workplace and personal life.
Yeah.
And one of them, or several of them, are quieter than others. And we had our whole team go through it and see, and it's amazing how those people who are the quiet ones are the deep ones.
Right.
And they're a lot of times the pulse checkers. They're the people who understand the vibe of the company, and they know if what we're doing is, in accordance with our values or not. Right. And so I know, okay, that person I need to make sure they're talking. And when we've done our reminders about this, we'll be like, okay, let the quiet voices talk first, because the loud voices will always have something to say.
Yeah. Well, and think about it. If they're not talking, they're listening. So they're probably listening better than anybody else. Yes. So there comes a time where you have to check in with them, because they've heard something that nobody else heard.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so your official title at Michelin is what?
North American B2B Training Manager.
Okay. And what does a North American B2B training manager do?
So I manage a team of trainers, training professionals, and we train our internal customers, so our salespeople. We train them how to sell our products and services. And then we also train our customers. So we train our fleets and our dealers on our products. Okay.
What's the thing that you see a lot of the salespeople, what do they get wrong when it comes to communication? And I'm sure it's universal. It's not a Michelin thing, right?
Sure.
So what are the things that people get wrong? We'll start there, and we'll talk about the thing people get right.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that people get wrong is something I just made a video about, which I call the fish.
Yeah.
And the fish is what people think rapport is. So most salespeople think that rapport is, me finding some commonality with you.
Right.
And I talk about that way longer than I should. So I walk into your office and I see you have this huge fish on your wall. We start talking about fishing. I fish, you fish, we both fish. And after 15 minutes, we're still talking about the fish.
Right.
And when you walk out of that sales call and there wasn't really anything productive, or maybe something productive came at the very end, you look at the salesperson and you say, hey, how did that go? I'm like, oh, it was amazing. They loved us. We talked forever. We had so much in common. But how did the business conversation go? Oh, okay. So I think people get rapport wrong. The fish is a bonus. So if I like something that you like, total bonus. Right. And that'll be fun for our relationship.
Right, yeah.
But rapport is having a purpose, showing up with a plan, letting the customer know why you're coming to see them, and bringing value to the conversation. All of those things are building rapport. It's not the fish.
Yeah.
So young and old salespeople get that one wrong.
Oh, I've gotten that wrong before. That's a good way of putting it too. Because
Yep.
yeah, you'll leave just high from the endorphins of it. You're like, we had a great conversation. Right. No one screamed at me.
Yeah.
It's all positive.
Right.
This is going to be a great relationship. And now they're like, I have a fishing buddy. They're not someone who wants to buy a tire or a video.
I know nothing about their business, but I know that Will fishes. Awesome.
That's so good. So, Tyler, let's talk about some of the best salespeople that you've been around. What are some of the common traits that salespeople have that are positive, that's helping them be successful in what they do?
Sure. The ones that aren't bashful about why they're there to see a customer. The ones that come in with the purpose and they say, hey, I want to have a conversation about, is there something that my company makes or sells that is going to benefit your business? I want to talk about that. We can get to know each other, but that purpose. And then the second thing is there are some people that are naturals at this, and then there are some of us that have to work very hard at this.
Right.
The best salespeople do reflective, active listening, and they're masters at it, and it's effortless. And when you watch them, if you know what you're watching and what you're looking for, to sit back is like watching a master artist paint a picture.
Yeah.
The customer is feeding information, and they're tossing nuggets of that back to the customer just to check for their own understanding, and then to give the customer green light to keep talking, keep going. Like, hey, I love where this is going. Let me toss a nugget of this back to you, and please keep going.
Yeah.
Those are the masters.
Yes.
If you can make a reflection to a customer or a friend even, we all reflect to each other. We reflect to our partners and our spouses. If you make a reflection to someone and they look at you and they go, exactly, you nailed it.
Yep.
You absolutely nailed it. Now you might be putting a period on that one to say, hey, we're going to move on to something else, or they might keep running with that. And it's either one of those is gold.
Yeah, it's funny. Exactly is the word that I'm always looking for.
I love it.
I can get that.
It's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite.
I almost do a happy dance, when I get that. What's like the go-to to be reflective and not be one of those like, okay, here's my next point. I'm waiting for you to finish talking,
right,
so I can say my words.
Man, so practice is one, but you have to get over this idea that you have to spew your next piece of information. So take a company like I work for with Michelin. We have amazing products. There are widgets about them that make them amazing. And when you're young and you're new, you just want to spew every widget because if you don't, they're not going to buy it from you, right? So maybe being comfortable with the idea that as we're listening to the customer, it's not about an information dump. So you have to be comfortable with that, number one. And then there's something called training wheels. The training wheels to reflect are, it sounds like. So if you just gave me, 5 sentences about something I asked you about, if I wasn't comfortable with a natural reflection, which would be using words like you, your, or your, the other your having apostrophe in it, of course.
Right.
If you're not comfortable with that, which I think is next level reflecting, it sounds like will lead you down the road to a reflection. And let's talk really quickly about what a reflection is not. A reflection is not a question. It's tossing back what you heard. So it's a statement. But in a way, it's an implied question. So if you go down the road of it sounds like blah, blah, blah is what I just heard, you're not raising your voice at the end of that, and I'm tossing it back at you and you're saying exactly, and then maybe you keep going. So that's the training wheel. So one, being comfortable with the idea of you don't have to spill your candy in the lobby.
Yes.
Is what we call it.
So
don't spill your candy in the lobby. You don't have to. And then, be comfortable with using the training wheels. Yeah.
I love that. I visualize that I have someone on a podcast. Like it's just kind of been my thing and I'm interviewing them.
Yep.
And that's the thing that helps me remember to not talk so much, because for me, reflective listening has been, very much not a natural thing at all.
Right.
And I don't think it's natural for many people. There's a few people.
There's a few. Yep.
But, like for most of us, at least I'm hoping, because I'm still bad at it naturally. But like I'll put a mic in front of them. I'll put a mic in front of me and go, if I'm going to be a good, podcast host,
right.
I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to have leading statements and then let them continue on their talk.
Absolutely. The best place to practice reflecting is if you happen to have children, is practicing with children, because it will try your patience. As a parent, I have 2 lovely girls. They're 10 and 13. As parents, we so many times know the answer, But what they really need at that moment is to be heard. So reflecting comes in. And when you said you're not a natural, same. I have to make myself do it, especially when you know the answer and you want to tell them, hey, you did this incorrectly and this is what you should do. It's like, it sounds like, you feel like this. Great place to practice.
So you said, the reflective listening's a really big one, but also the not being bashful.
Sure.
What leads someone to be bashful? How do they get out of being bashful?
I think one of the things that leads people to be bashful is, for some reason, they have this feeling that being a salesperson is somehow slimy or sleazy or whatever. Yeah. So if you believe in your products and services, just like you believe in your business, there's no reason to be bashful. I feel like if you don't buy into the mission of your company or the viability of your products and services, that causes people to be bashful.
And people pick up on that. If you don't believe in what you're talking about,
jump.
And it's weird because, and that's a lot of how that one-on-one conversation goes. There's an aura, there's an energy, there's a vibe, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It exists, and people are like, I'm not going to and you may even think about that in the sense of like, I'm not going to buy it from this guy because he doesn't believe it. But there's just something that's not right.
Right. Customers, and we're customers, we're consumers. You can smell it.
Yes.
The minute that somebody doesn't believe in their products and services. Yeah. And that creates a wall in that conversation.
Yeah. And you don't believe. I mean, no one's going to believe more than you.
Right. That's right.
Never will. And there's no technique. You can't. You can listen to as many Zig Ziglar tapes on the way to the next call.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Yep.
So you've been in sales for much of your life, right?
Yep.
Okay. All
Basically, yeah. If you count fundraising, which is also sales,
it is
25 years.
Okay. Who is that mentor? Who is that person in your life that really helped you on your trajectory and helped baby Matt, reach that place where you are today?
So Jake Bonner, shout out Jake Bonner. Jake was he was a senior salesman on the team I was on. And so I wanted to emulate him because he was crushing it on our team. So I found that person to emulate, and then he became my manager. The thing I loved about him being my manager is he didn't sit back in the sales call. He sold. So I knew going in with Jake, it wasn't Jake was just with me to ride for a couple days. It was, I've got somebody who's really good who's going to sell with me. Yeah. So when I became a manager, eventually I tried to manage and sell like Jake did. I loved it. I loved being part of the game with my salespeople. Yep.
I love that. What was Jake's superpower? What was he really good at?
Oh, man. Jake's superpower was building just enough small talk rapport, if you will, fish, if you will, like just enough fish in the beginning, and then just dialed in about how can we help the customer. And there wasn't anything fake or pushy about it.
I love that. What about people who they might have a Jake in their life? They don't have someone on their team that they can really look up to. There might be some, killers, but they might be someone who, they don't care about other people. It's like, leave me alone.
Right.
How do you grow those skills? How do you learn about what you're doing wrong, how to do it right?
Right. There is so much good stuff out there that you can read and listen to now. I think you and I have talked about this a little bit. I read in the morning when I'm running.
Yeah.
So most of what I'm listening to is professional development.
Yeah.
So I would tell anybody, if you only listen to music, if you only read nonfiction, and you don't have that Jake, you got to fill yourself with some of the stuff that's out there. There's so much at your fingertips.
What's the most impactful books and audiobooks, things that helped you? It could be current, it could be in the past. So some of the things that you're like, man, everybody needs to listen or watch or read this.
A book I've read twice, so that's always my barometer. I'm one of those guys that watches movies over and over again I like a movie.
Yeah.
And I do that with books too. So I've read Dave Ramsey's EntreLeadership twice. My day job is working in a corporate environment, but he's talking about starting a business and how to run a business. And that fires me up.
The best piece of advice you ever received?
Interacting with people, we're all going home to something at the end of the day. We're all going home to our family. Maybe you're not going home to a family. As soon as 5 o'clock hits or whatever that hour is that they go home, everybody's going home to a different situation.
Yeah.
So I've always thought about that as I interact with people. What's exciting for them? What are they doing this weekend? What trouble are they dealing with at the moment? That's been one of the best pieces of advice. Is we meet people in sales environments and we think, this is who they are. They're buttoned up at the moment, and nothing could be wrong or nothing could be amazing that's about to happen to them. So for me, that's it. Like thinking of people as a human.
So good, man. Empathy is such an important part.
Yep.
I think of doing anything in the world, but sales, I think especially. Like if you don't empathize and know who this person is and understand they're a whole person,
right,
and they bring their whole person to work,
right,
you can't get anything. Okay, so you've done sales for 25 years. You've been working with Michelin for a very long time, helping their team, and now you're starting to have kind of a fun project that you've been working on for what, like 2 years now?
4 years.
Okay,
sir.
4 years.
Yep.
Yes. So this book, you got to tell me about the book. What's the subject? And
Sure. So the book is called Reflect: The Art of Powerful Sales Communication. I took a course that changed my life, and it was a course called Powerful Sales Communication, and it was all about reflective listening that we talked about earlier. Met the owner, stayed in contact with her over the years. She's actually based here in Greenville. She's an amazing friend of mine, Jane Allen, and I've taught the material at different times over the years. And during COVID, I had this idea of, what do we do with this? What do we do with this material? Because her business had kind of morphed. She'd moved on to coaching, executive search, and predictive assessments. So the course was kind of put on a shelf like a prized possession or a trophy. Yeah. And I said, Jane, I want to write a book about this course. I want to give this knowledge to everybody. And she said, right on, do it, go for it. It has been a labor of love over the last 4 years. I've written on airplanes, in lounges, in hotel beds. And it was all about taking that 2.5-day course and putting it into 10 chapters that were accessible for every salesperson at whatever level they're at. And it's that demystification of sales. And demystification of what sales success looks like.
So the person that wants to read this book is someone in sales, but what are the problems that they're experiencing, that would make them go like, I need to buy this book?
They're in a super competitive market would be one. That's top of mind for me, is how do they differentiate themselves from the rest of their market? I've been in competitive markets before where I was one of maybe 7 people selling the exact same product, and there's a lot of pressure in that. Someone who's being real about their listening skills is number 2, because reflective, active listening is a theme that goes throughout the entire book. So if you're real about the fact that you might not listen as well as you think you do, absolutely is for you. And then I think the other piece of it is it's a blueprint for relationship sales. And that goes for someone just getting into relationship sales, and it's also for the veteran, because the veteran also probably has some bad habits. So there's really not anybody I've excluded in the audience.
I mean, I think we all need to learn how to be more reflective in our listening. I mean, like that's such a. I don't think there's ever someone that masters it, and even the people who are the masters who would love to and say like, wow, this person gets it. They know how it is. Even they're like, no, I still have things to learn. There's times I mess up. Once someone reads the book, what's your hope for the transformation that they would experience once they start applying the principles in it?
My hope would be that they listen at a deeper level. That's at the heart of it. I want them to walk away knowing that we don't all naturally do it. And if it's, if they see my book on their shelf and they remember those words and they're having a conversation like this and they say, oh man, Matt, in your head, you're like, Matt, reflect, don't try to spill your candy in the lobby, please reflect. That would be the biggest compliment if people could take that, because that was the biggest piece of the course. And then, the person that needs that demystification, what is relationship sales? It's building real rapport. It is that active, reflective listening. It's value-based or needs-based selling. And then it's persuasion. And I love to talk about persuasion because persuasion can come across as a dirty word, and it's not. Persuasion is influencing with facts. So there's really nothing dirty about that. So as part of the book, I also dispel, drop your negative connotation that you have for persuasion. If you are persuading with the facts and you're building a real relationship, that customer is going on a shared journey with you. And I say this in the book, when you get to the end of that shared journey, they're likely rooting for you. They want you to close the sale. So if you think about customers that you have, once you go through discovery and you start to build a relationship and you are starting to identify solutions, you're going on that shared journey with the customer. Chances are most customers are rooting for you to close the sale.
Yeah, that's so good. That all honestly, that's where I've always struggled, like, with the persuasion side.
Yeah.
Because relational, I can do that.
You're good.
Understanding things, man. Understanding, what their needs are and explaining, like, okay, this is how we can help. That got something I believe in. All those things, all those pieces are there for me.
Yep.
But whenever you get that person, be like, I don't really think it's for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm screaming because I'm like, no, like, what are you talking about? Like,
this is absolutely for you.
This is for you.
Yeah.
I'm not even like, I'm so invested. Like, I don't even care if you pay me money. Like, this is the most amazing thing to absolutely help you. I'll go like, oh, okay, well, I understand. Like, when you change your mind, let me know, kind of thing. And there's times I've done that for other sales, and I had to realize, like, well, no, like, that's not the way to do it. You have to persuade people, and you have to tell them, like, hey, these are the things you're maybe not considering. What I heard from you, reflectively speaking, you want these things.
Yep.
How are you going to get those things if you don't do this, buy this product or service?
Exactly.
Let's talk about go back to the book a little bit.
Sure.
Because we got all excited about talking about sales, and it's super fascinating. But what's the plan for that? Because it's not out yet, right?
Correct.
Okay. So when is it coming out? When can people start, is there a website? Is there anything where people can start, signing up and following you and learning more about when it drops and all that?
Sure. So bookreflect.com is a landing page for the book. We're looking at probably September, October already. So it is in the final stages, almost ready for purchase online, paperback.
I mean, good things take time. It takes
Absolutely.
time. So first book you've ever written?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the lessons you learned from that?
That everyone needs an editor.
They do.
In video and in writing.
So true.
The biggest eye-opening thing about writing a book was just how big the process really is. It's one thing to go, I'm going to write a book. It's another thing to spend the years writing it, open yourself up to an editor, go through all of those changes. And it's not one round of edits. It was 3 rounds of edits. And then what comes next? The marketing of a book and the websites and the videos on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So it's been such a cool journey, but it's been huge.
That's fun. Yeah, I think writing a book is probably more vulnerable than doing a video.
Yeah.
Because a video is, okay, I'm putting my best self out here for the next 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to talk, and then some editor cuts it down, and if you don't say something quite right, you're like, okay, I did my best. But with a manuscript, you've written in your PJs, at night, and then you come back and you like tweak it and you make it like, I'm sure she got the 20th draft. She didn't get like just the raw thoughts, right? So you're editing it down. You're like, this is the best. Like it is in perfect condition. There's nothing I can do to improve it.
Yep.
You hand it over, and come to find out, there's a lot that can be done.
I edited. That's so funny you bring that up. I edited every chapter probably 5 times before I handed her the entire manuscript. And then when those emails started to come through, I was like, what is she changing? How could this be? How did I miss something?
Yeah, that's funny. It's amazing how that is. So you alluded to making videos.
Yes.
So we talked. We had grabbed coffee, had a great chat. It was so much fun. And I had given you some tips on like, hey, just start, So like, how's that journey been for you to make videos? You're talking straight to camera.
Yep.
It's looking good, man. You're doing such a good job with it. But what's that been like?
It's been fun.
Yeah.
For one, and the coaching was awesome. We all are in love with our own words and everything that we have to say, and your coaching as far as killing the babies, if we can say that, and maybe you can add some color to that.
Right.
That's been huge. Is cutting down my messaging to just that crisp, point that I want to get across, because like you and I went back and forth. I gave you a 2-minute and 30-second video, and you got it down to, I think, a minute and 15 seconds.
Yep.
And I couldn't understand how you could cut anything out of that
Right.
video.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when you sent it back to me, I went, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing how editing, I mean, both a video and a manuscript just helps make it concise. A lot of times people will try so hard to tell their whole story
Right.
or a whole concept in a video, and people's attention spans are very short on social media.
Yep.
You know, if you're drinking a beer with them and eating a pizza, like, y'all can talk for a very long time,
Sure.
and you can ramble
Yep.
and all that, but you have to understand the medium that you're in, and the medium changes the message. And so you have to go, okay, what's my concept? And then you kill all the babies, which is what we say in around 90 Central, which is just, you got to take the things that are most precious to you and, put them to the side.
Got to let them go.
Yeah, let them go and let them, give them a nice little Viking burial and do your thing. But yeah, it's incredible how much, the right thing versus the almost the right thing can make a difference in a video.
Right.
You're looking good. You're sounding
Thanks.
good.
Thank you, sir.
They're really entertaining and interesting videos, and I'm learning from them. So
Yeah.
I'm loving them. So keep it up, man.
Awesome.
I know you will.
I'm pulling. They're basically nuggets from the book.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. So I've got 10 chapters of videos to pull out there.
Yeah, that's good. It's amazing. I mean, you have a huge well, a deep well
I
of
think so.
things that you can pull from, which is something that a lot of our clients, when we're talking to them, they a lot of them are experts in their field, but they maybe haven't organized it yet, and so that work that you've done for the last 4 years of taking that manuscript and putting those concepts together puts you far ahead of so many people.
Collected all the thoughts.
Right.
It's fun. I used Jane's course, which meant so much to me in 2007. I used Jane's course as my shell, and the rest of it's me. Yeah. It's 25 years of me being in the market, selling, managing, training, bringing it to life.
Love it. That's so good, man.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool having these opportunities and this really exciting things you've worked so hard for?
Yeah.
I mean, it's something exciting to anticipate. So I love that.
I had a phone call with a buddy this morning, and we hadn't talked in a while, but I had told a small group of my friends about the book. And he goes, I just have to tell you, congrats, man. The book thing is so cool. He goes, I have to be honest, though. I'm sitting here like second guessing my entire life and saying, Detjen wrote a book. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? And I was like, that's the biggest compliment that anybody could give me.
That's good. I love that, man. I mean, I'm so excited for your book and everything you got. You got the experience behind, it's going to be something that's going to help so many people. So you already got someone who's going to buy a copy.
Thank you.
So I'm really looking forward to reading it and being better at sales, getting better at reflective listening. And so super excited about that. Thanks for taking the time to chat.
Thank you.
I'm pumped. So people need to search for you on LinkedIn. Is that where a lot of your videos are?
That's where all of the videos are right now. You can find me on Instagram as well, but the business side of the house is LinkedIn.
Love it.
And then we've got bookreflect.com, and the book will be all over LinkedIn.
Sweet. Awesome, man. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Congrats. Thanks for chatting.
Thank you, sir.
It was fun.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude.